I wanted to finalize something that I saw in the original Emerald tablets. And it was actually a reference to something very interesting, because while many have thought these statements that are being mentioned are actually about alchemy just directly, and they start trying to think about elements, they missed that what was being described was actually about us, human beings, and that we have to be on point because there's already an awareness of how much power we have. And many times in history, we've gone through a process where it's like even what you see in the world today, it just kind of seems like for many people, it's like they're being kind of like harvested in certain ways. They're just kind of being groomed and then harvested. And so this is just something to be aware in the Emerald tablets of what it spoke, because remember, the Emerald tablets is not that long thing that they be passing around these days. It was only a little bit. And so I'm going to share my screen here really quick. So again, in any system in the world right now, in secret society, their god is Hermes, who goes under many names. And when I say their God, I'm saying it's a system of knowledge, it's a system of awareness, and it's a system of wisdom, and it exists as long as those pyramids have been here. And so I just wanted to start up here really briefly. And I wanted to read this because I wanted to show how, again, one of the most occult works that is still in the world today is actually a reference to us, and why so many have still tried to find this energy, covet this energy, steal this energy, etc. And some actually know what they're doing, as I said, with humanity and human beings and their power and their energy. But in most cases with occultism, few have been able to penetrate these mysteries because, see, the mysteries are surrounded by monsters. So in that respect, a person cannot enter into the sanctuary because of the cherubim, as it said. The cherubim is like this huge, ferocious Cerberus, they call it. It's a three-headed dog, they even show it. It's just like all this fearful symbolism around all these energies, because these energies are ferocious. These energies are very powerful. The energies that you carry inside of your body, they're very powerful. So it's almost like it's a conundrum. We unlock your power, you go nuts with your power, others get hurt, you get hurt. So what do? However, we don't unlock your power, and those who naturally corrupt things and distort things and deteriorate things, we have to succumb to that. Do you understand what I'm saying here? I just want to make this very clear. These two different paths, if we turn and activate and enlighten humanity, and they use the power and it corrupts them, then it's almost like it would have been better for us not to even have given it at all, because they're not only going to hurt others, they're going to hurt themselves. So you see how that's pretty much the number one reasons why the doors of the sanctums have been closed. Until as time is, you can't just keep the doors closed forever. Something else happens. That's why it's always important to see the transitional points between things. Something else happens. Now, because the knowledge hasn't been given in so long, the actual energies that they basically degrade. It's like mold or fungus, right? So it's just a natural cause and effect of, when we're not activating beings and turning them on to their light, then mold starts to grow on things, and then they get into this darkness, this fear, and this dank level of awareness, right? So now we have no choice, basically, but to activate humans to their power and trust that enough has happened in the world for them to make the right decision on what to do with their energy. Because you should already know at this point that if you decide to take the powers and the energies and obliterate yourself with them, you won't be the first one. But what I'm asking you is, what if that was the whole thing, that you just needed to be the one that actually understood the power, but you weren't trying to, I don't know, make all the girls fall in love with you or control a bunch of people, have 5 servants or whatever weirdness could come about in a dream. That you decided that you were going to actually utilize this power within to do great things, because great things is the quote unquote money of the next world. Giving the gifts or charity is what balances out debt. You see what I mean? So it's just like you could create like this quantum giving machine while you're here on earth that can perpetually fund your energetic experience in the beyond. Facts. So, but the power in itself, make no mistake, the power in itself is power. So it's not like something that it's just this innate, it's not functioning, it's foolishness, it doesn't work. So we'll start here. It says, in it, as will be seen, are on one shield a lion and on the other a double-headed eagle. This is coming from the Book of Words, Albert Pike, one of the lost books pretty much to what they mention. They always mention his work on Sirius, which actually came from the Dogon, because Albert Pike was a part of the library to where when they were going into all of these cultures and they were pulling their holy books, they were funneling them directly to him. And he was coming back in and basically not necessarily rewriting anything. That's what the interesting part about the earlier books were. The later books are clearly written by multiple authors, but there's just specific things that we're honing into here. And what these things are saying is, it says, at the top, out of a cup which stands on the sign of the planet Mercury issues 2 stems, that at the right having its end in the sun, and that at the left the moon. Below these are Mars and Venus, Jupiter and Saturn. To each of the last 2 of hand points, the last 2 fingers closed on the palm, the tablet and its preface are as such. Okay. So what I'm telling you is that this tablet is a direct reference to the human being, the body that you're actually in right now, that you're calling the human being. That is called the tablet. So watch this. So it says once, so this is Verba Hermetis Pymander, right? So this is Hermetis Trismegistus Pymander. So they're saying that Hermes in one of the incarnations is also Pymander, who we also know is also affiliated with Pythagoras. This is the school of Pythagoras. Their god is Pymander. Now, remember, when we're saying God, what we're saying is a system of belief that has been going on since the upright cobra, which was actually a symbol of the male phallic symbol, was functioning. So this means even all the way back in Abu Simbel, so way before any of this stuff that we start seeing as far as modern Greek interpretations, there's a direct reference to a cobra, more directly a naga or a hooded entity, actually being somewhat of the primordial aspects of the human being. Let's say the one strand of DNA. Okay. So it says, once I was reflecting in regard to entities, my mind greatly exalted, but the sense of my body lulled to the unconscious, as when they are heavy with sleep from the satiety of food and bodily labor. Okay, so what is being explained is now called the hypnagogic state. Look what it's saying. When my body is lulled to the unconsciousness, as when they are within the heavy sleep from the satiety of food and the body of labor, right? So that's that moment where you hit the hypnagogic state. And then he goes on and says, I seem to see a very great, somewhat, or indefinite dimension that called my name and said to me, what doest thou desire to hear and to be told and to behold? And what by the intellect conceiving to learn and to know? I said, but thou who art thou? I indeed, he said, I am Pymander, the mind of him who is the Lord. I know what thou desirest, and I am with thee everywhere. I said, I wish to learn existences and to understand their nature and to have cognition of God. How? I wish to hear, he said, have me again in thy mind. Whatever thou desirest to learn, I will teach thee. When he had said this, he changed in form, and thereupon all things were open to me in a moment. Okay, so what is directly being said is that the human is a universe. But if we flip this on the outside and someone is going to try to express the universe to you, it would be like a thought inside of your mind. You would start having this conversation with yourself. And in this process of your conversation with yourself, you would be able to, like when you go into a dream, be opened in the moment to all of what exists. Let's keep going here because some may not come to that definition until just a moment when you see the finalization of these tablets. And again, the reason why these tablets are so important is because the whole foundation of occultism rests on these tablets. But there's been a lot added after that by priestcrafts that came thousands of years later. So it's like basically saying, so from the horse's mouth of Thoth, Hermes, etc., what was really the knowledge being transmitted or transcribed? What was alchemy? So it's going to say here, this is true. And from all envelope of falsehoods remote. Okay, so this is saying, so they bigging this up right away. They're telling you, there's everything we're about to explain to you. This is it. This is the ultimate. After all of our research, this is what is the most important thing. Anything that's a lie has been removed from this. Now, again, when you go and you find Smara is also the name of emerald in Smaragdina, right? That's the name of emerald. So this is the emerald tablet. So remember, the emerald tablet has been retranslated, changed, made longer. And so the only copy of the original emerald tablets that I've seen that's authentic is the one coming from this book, because this book was given to their initiates as they began to create their god, which goes on later in the book. But it goes on and says, this is true, and from all envelopes and from all envelope of falsehoods remote, whatever is below is like unto what is above. By this are acquired and perfected the wonders of the work of the one thing, in which manner also all things become from unity through the contemplation of unity. So all things are from this unity. Through conjunction, its father is the son. So this is like, if I'm going to give you a riddle, who am I talking about? Who is this unity and this thing that we should be contemplating on that is connected to unity and the perfection of all things? It says here, he's going to describe it. It's like sitting in front of the Sphinx. Its father is the sun. Its mother is the moon. The air conceived it in its womb. And remember, that's another reference again to air, on why air is not what everybody thinks. Everybody don't even see air, never realizing that air is a womb of light. So it's conceived in the womb. Its nurse is the earth, the mother of all perfection. Its potency is perfect if it is changed into earth. So watch this. Okay, so they're describing the human being. The human being is the only one that its mother is the earth, its father is the sun, etc. Or mother is the moon, the father is the sun. That's the human being. But watch what it says about the human being. It says its potency is perfect, so we can create things. If it is changed into earth, meaning if we put it into a body, separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the light, the gross from the heavy, and all prudently with modesty and wisdom, this ascends to heaven from the earth, and again from heaven to the earth descends and receives the potency and efficiency of things above and the things below. So it's saying basically that humans, as we are plants. We're planted. I'm going to read it to you again. Its potency is perfect. Okay, so this is like, okay, are these seeds that are going to grow? Yes, their potency is perfect. if they're changed into earth, and then you separate the earth from the fire, the subtle and the light from the gross and the heavy, and all prudently in modesty and wisdom. Okay, that's literally showing you the structure of the world. The structure of the world's design is to separate the earth from the fire, the subtle and the light, the gross and the heavy, and all the prudence and the modesty and wisdom. So in your consciousness, because we're talking about your body, we're not talking about just the external kingdom. We're talking about your body, your consciousness, your being. It's saying that when you basically distill yourself in your own agony or your own fire, you ascend from heaven, or excuse me, it says this ascends to heaven from earth, right? So you're literally transitioning yourself, because you're basically burning off all of these lower levels of your makeup, and then you're boiling into this higher level of who you are. But then it basically explains, though, that but you still, once you get to the highest level of what you are, you distill back, as it says, look, this ascends to heaven from the earth. So they're basically saying, so those humans, when you plant them, they'll go all the way and ascend from the earth to the heaven as they become more aware and they become more wise and they become more refined. So that part of you will go there. And then it says, and it receives the potency and the efficiency of things above and the things below. In this way, thou mayest acquire the glory of the whole world. Therefore, thou wilt avert all darkness and blindness. Now, this is where you got to realize, what is this knowledge specifically about? This is knowledge to someone. It's saying, hey, it's not just saying, hey, this is to all the students in the class. This is knowledge specifically to someone, some group of beings, some priest, some alien, someone. And it's giving them these instructions specifically about the human being. It's first admitting that if you plant them, they go through a process of refinement, and what's refined rises to the top and then actually comes back down again and continues this process. So it says, so it's saying, okay, so directly now it's talking to a person that wants to acquire the glory of the whole world. This is language arts. Like if you're saying, so who is this being addressed to? You said maybe it's to an alien, maybe it's to who is it? It is addressed to someone who wants to acquire the glory of the whole world. Okay, so we can keep going with this. We know this is addressed to that kind of person or being. Therefore, thou wilt avert all darkness and blindness. For this is the fortitude that carries the palm away from all other fortitude and potency. For it can penetrate and subdue all things subtle and heavy and hard. In this manner, the world was established, and hence its admirable conjunction and effects to be wondered at, since this is that way by which those wonders are effected. And on account of these things, they call me by the name Trismegistus, since I possess 3 parts of wisdom and philosophy of the whole world. My word is consummate, which I spoke of the solar work. Okay, so this is where it's coming to a crescendo here. So just to demystify this, again, it's saying, if you take this element or this body through these procedures, basically you remove it from blindness. You give it fortitude, right? So this is a step-by-step process of awareness. You bring them out of you got to explain something to them to where the light turns on. Bring them through experience that the light turns on for a moment. Then from that point, allow them to see that this type of fortitude gives them the potency. This is what we were saying before. Like if you're patching these holes that you have, you gain strength from that. And then from that point, you can penetrate all the subtle things heavy and hard. This is like when you're literally breaking through and you're connecting with something that, let's say, other people may be afraid of or other people may not even think exists, right? And then it says, in this manner, the world was established. So through this exact same process of what we're saying that you can refine yourself through, the same world you're living in was created that same way, right? So we're just going to finish off here. It says, this is the most excellent saying, and which bears away the palm from all others uttered upon this subject, as the Theosophrastus also taught the corollaries of this art. The sum of the saying consists in this: receive the moon from the firmament, change it from its place above into the water, and cast it upon the earth, and then thou shalt work a miracle to be wondered at by all the world. Okay, so this is just giving you a final summary of what happened. This is the final summary of what happened here on earth. There was an instruction to receive the moon from the firmament and change it from its place above into the water and cast it upon the earth. So this means that something about how the moon is positioned and the energy that it is casting to the world now has been changed a little bit. And in this changing, it says, and then thou shalt work a miracle to be wondered at by all the world. So what this means is that, see, when everybody has the same level of power, you don't really wander after somebody like they're a god, because it's like they have the same level of power that you have. But if you put imbalances into the world by messing around with some of the celestial objects that are actually in this sphere, then what you basically create is you create a being that you can actually create a miracle in front of. Like these technologies have become miracles for people. Medicines have become miracles for people. But all these things that you could create yourself. And this is how you're going to know this is exactly what it's talking about. It says the sum of the saying consists in this: receive the moon from the firmament, change it from the place above into the water, and cast it upon the earth. And then thou shalt work a miracle to be wondered at by all the world. But if thou shalt conduct the operation to the end, and from the beginning shall cast it into the sifted earth, which in our part is prepared of a loomy earth, purge and free it from that. And then it shall shine with far more splendid in radiance. So in a nutshell, what that last script is saying is that the way that human beings were brought into this space was in certain ways for them to be cultivated for something that wanted to rule over everything, as it mentioned before, of how it can take control of all the power, all of what goes on earth, the souls. They call it what belongs to the air, who wants to acquire the glory of the whole world. But we're now here after the fact. We still have people that are working in certain ways with this craft that have lost the true meaning of what this initiatory process is really about. We have an implementation of knowledge that is now in certain beings' hands about just how much power and light we have, and how if our energy is harnessed, it could actually be utilized to control the whole world and the creation of the worlds that come from this. And you are here at a time where you can make the greatest level of difference to plans to use this knowledge and this power of these elements and these souls and these precious beings that are here on the planet.